What's up, fam? Welcome back to Mental Groove. Today we're checking out a Kevin Samuels clip that's got the internet in a frenzy, and you know we've got to unpack it. Before we hit play, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hang tight. I'll be dropping my honest take right after the video. Let's get into it.
How old are you?
I am 31 years old.
All right. So what are we talking about? Dating cost or 2/3?
Say that second one.
2/3. You know what I'm talking about if you meant it.
Honestly, so I'm just gonna be real. I just came in and I noticed, you up here and you were talking about dating. I don't know the levels or exactly what.
Are you single or are you married?
I am single.
Why does that take people so long? Y'all know if y'all married or not.
No, because I'm recently divorced, so
Okay.
I am single.
How long you been divorced?
Oh, we were literally just divorced in August.
How long were you married?
We were married for 6 months before he realized that he wanted to learn himself more.
Huh?
Yeah, so
Learn himself more? Okay. How long did you get? How old was he?
he was 36.
You guys have any children?
No children. Absolutely
Okay.
not.
So are you okay? How long were you together before you were married?
We were together for how long? We were together for 2 months.
Okay. So you're together 2 months and you got married?
Yes.
In less than 6 months? Okay. And he wanted to learn himself. All right. So now what?
Well, now, I mean, I'm back on the market, but not necessarily in that way.
What do you mean not in that way?
Well, so for me, relationship has always been about building friendship and really getting to know
We're not your friend.
the person, but
Let me stop you. Hold on. One of the biggest mistakes we make, and I make too. Guys, stop trying to be these women's friends. We're not your effing friends. We're your men. We're not your friends. We're not your friends. And we were raised to think this shit, and it destroys attraction. You're friends with your homegirls. You can be cordial and you can be cool with your man, but we're not your friend. We should be walking down the street laughing and cracking jokes. That's for your girlfriends. I have to keep making that point because we keep saying this and it ruins relationships. We're not your friends. So if a relationship isn't about being friends, then what is it about?
it's definitely about building a legacy. There's that thing that in this day and age, a lot of people are getting into relationships with no plan, and so that was one of the things that came up that I was able to, because I'm a product of my parents being married for 38 years. They built this. They came together knowing what they ideally wanted.
How old are you again?
I'm 31.
So if you want to build a legacy, do you want children?
Definitely.
Okay, then I'm curious, how did you guys get married in 2 months and not suss all this stuff out?
2020, a lot of people are into, it's all about business and I got to make this money before I do this. And, and that was one of those things that for me, I'm like, I'm ready to have, the children. We can,
I don't understand.
The idea that
I don't understand. Stop. The 2020 people all about the money. I just want to know specifically about y'all. How'd you get married in 2 months and y'all ain't been together for a year and you gone? And you talk about plans and legacy. How did all those important questions not get asked?
They did, but the answers were not true later on. And so, one person that I met later on, he's discovering that he's not that person, and that a lot.
Ma'am, I'm talking about your husband.
Right, and this this is who I'm talking about. What was given in the beginning was, the questions that were asked, they didn't carry weight through the actions.
What questions?
what your plans are for children. Do you want to have children? What
Hmm. You asked him this?
asking those questions of
You
what
asked
is the
him
plan
that?
for you? Do
Hold
you
on,
want to
hold on.
be
I'm saying you asked him this stuff?
yeah, these were questions that I asked.
You asked him if he wanted to have children. What did he say?
Lots of them. But then more realistically, he said 5.
And how much money was he making?
$60,000 around
And
that.
you had to question, and a 31-year-old woman, you think you can have 5 children with a man making $60,000?
I personally don't think
Okay,
that
so
would be
that's a
realistic.
disconnect.
No.
Okay, so see, this is where it tends to go awry because people hear this story and they'll automatically go jump to the guy. And I'm trying to understand why a woman who's talking about legacy and family and planning, who comes from a 38-year marriage, a parent to parent, how you didn't get these questions realistically answered, because it really shouldn't fall apart in less than a year. You can't have 5 kids with a man making $60,000. So if you believe that, that's on you.
Right.
Was he married before?
No.
No children.
No children.
So why do he need to go find himself?
That's a really good question.
He didn't ask?
This is something that was asked in more ways, literally, and
Who filed for divorce?
figured he did.
Okay. He filed for divorce. Okay. Well, going forward, how many kids would you like to have?
3.
Do you want to have to work to pay significant bills after you're married?
Say what?
Do you
I
want
mean,
to have to work to pay
I
significant bills after
definitely
you're? Do you want
more
to work? Do you want to have to work to pay significant bills after you're pregnant with the first child in your marriage?
definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
What state do you live in?
Connecticut.
What percentage of the family financial load do you want to have to be responsible for an entire lifetime?
30%.
30%. Then how are you not going to work?
Will be my wellness center that would be making the money.
No. See, what I'm showing you guys, a big part of the reason relationships fail is because women don't ask the right questions
Hmm.
and you're not serious. Then you go off your freaking feelings and dreams, and when it all falls apart, everybody wants to blame the man. Man, things that I've asked you don't even make sense. You don't want to have to work to pay significant bills after you're pregnant, yet you want to be responsible for 30% of the family financial load for a lifetime. See, we don't think seriously about relationships in our community. We think in terms of movies and feelings.
That's true. I definitely.
And unfortunately, you ladies have to know it before we do, because you have a limited amount of time before nature takes options away. You don't have time to waste. So you must be deadly serious about mating, dating. There's no games, there's no fantasies, there's no potential. It's hardcore proof. You're betting your very womb. Now, if you had gone into dating this guy with that level of seriousness, do you think you would have married him? That's what needs to be the takeaway. Whether he needs to find himself or not, you on your side did not ask the relevant, important questions for a lifetime that needs to be asked of a mate. This is where women have to start be holding each other accountable instead of saying these men are trash, these men are this, these men. No, just like I get on guys for saying I'm not going out to dinner with nobody and I'm not paying for dates because these women out here. No, you have to ask the right questions. So, going forward, who's going to help you vet the kind of man you would like to marry?
I have my confidants, but yeah, I definitely have a lot
Are
to
your
think about.
confidants female?
Yes, and
Then they
male.
can't. No, your confidants are your. Why not your father?
This is a good point. This is
But
a good.
why? But why not?
I would love that to be. I personally would love that to be.
What's the holdup then?
We've had conversations and they're pretty much based on just one's religious standpoint and very disconnected. Not
What do you
having
mean?
that, not
What do you
having
mean
that type.
disconnected? What do you mean disconnected?
Well, there isn't a there's a lot of, what is that, the lack of confidence in one's own personal experience
I
that
don't
we
make
have
it
to
make
have that
sense, man. I
conversation.
don't know. You talk to me like I'm four or a cocker spaniel.
No, he just doesn't have he doesn't have the capacity right now. He's not at the capacity right now where he's actually been able to connect with me. It's just more
Your
of,
father?
you'll figure it out on your
Your
own.
father?
Figure, yeah.
Your father? How did he raise you?
By
See, what tends to happen, ma'am, is you ladies tend to look at your fathers and you don't ask them until you fuck up. Then you blame the father for not being able to communicate like Dr. fucking Phil. He gave you a 38-year marriage to model after, but it doesn't make you tingle or get you moist. Your confidants, no disrespect, they didn't raise you in the 38-year marriage. Go pick what your mama got. How about that?
You said don't think.
I said, go pick what your mama got. What's wrong with that?
I think that would have to be more of a personal conversation that you and I would have to have for you to get
No,
more
not
insight
really.
into
You
that.
said no, not really.
That's
Because
also,
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why not. Because I'm going to use you coming in saying I believe in legacy and I'm the product of a 38-year marriage. You can't go undercut that credibility just because of expediency. Go get what your mama got. You used it for validation earlier. See what I mean? We can still, you modern women can look at a working relationship, a working situation, and still want to go pick what you like. And you guys don't know how to pick men. You pick based upon things that are irrelevant. They're all feelings based. When I say go pick what your mama got, you said there's a 38-year marriage and legacy and this and that, then apparently it works. But when you judge your mother and father's relationship, stay in the child's place. Stop trying to judge it like you her husband. I mean, like you his wife, you his child. That's what everybody else does.
I also see that people do pick and choose based on the outer appearance. So, one would say, "Oh, I want a
People,
38-year marriage,"
people,
and then
people,
look
people,
at,
people,
and
people,
then me
people,
specifically,
people, men or
right?
women?
But me
Men,
specifically.
people, hold on. When you say people, do you mean men or women?
So, in my personal experience, is more so women.
Women
Just
pick
that's
based on
where
the
I'm
outer
coming from.
experience. Women
Yeah. So
pick
for
based on the
me,
outer experience, on the outer appearance.
as far as like, relationship goals, so now speaking on my personal experience, I know for me, when it comes to looking at what I ideally want on the outside, it's also me having to consider what's actually taking place behind closed doors. So wanting a 38-year marriage, how that looks, or even based on why, like the question that I would have as to why that marriage has lasted that long, from my experience, and even when I asked my mother, it's because, one, it's based on their religious beliefs. We don't believe in marriage. I mean, we don't believe in divorce. We don't believe in marrying someone and then getting a divorce,
Okay,
regardless of
stop,
whatever
stop right
happens when
here.
they marry.
Women shouldn't be picking men based on how they look. That's what y'all get picked on. You don't pick a man based on his look. You pick a man based on his character and ability to provide and protect. If he's attractive or cute, that's just a bonus. What's going on behind the 38-year marriage? You're all out of alignment. You need to be on your man's program instead of you're trying to lead. And you're talking to your mom. Were they Christian?
They are, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Then why aren't your beliefs the same as theirs? Because I'm a modern Christian.
Well, they are, but it seems like there's more.
There's
There's
not
more
more. No, no,
content
no,
of
no,
people
no, no, no,
who
no,
believe
it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, there's not. You modern Christian women are out of alignment with everything in the Bible. You want to be modern women and Christians at the same time. It doesn't work. It was simpler back when your mama and your grandma and your great grandma, because they weren't trying to pick based upon all these other things. They were picking a man based upon, I need to have a husband, because I need to have a family, because a man is required, because they were traditional women. Traditional women, men are not optional. You could not get to be 30 plus years old and not have a man in your life as a traditional woman. A man is a requirement. God, religion, those kind of things are further meant to submit for human frailties and fleeting things like women. Women, y'all pick on emotions. So we can have modern Christians, but you're not picking like Christians.
That's
Are
another thing. That's also that's another statement. When you say you're not picking on, I didn't necessarily. Well, no, I didn't pick. I was chosen, and I said yes out with those beliefs that one, this is someone who's a provider, who's a protector. I'm saying yes to
did
him.
he choose? He chose you. Did he ask your father for your hand in marriage?
He asked for my father's hand in marriage. He asked
And your
me
father
for marriage.
accepted?
My
Your father,
father,
hold on.
my
He
father
asked
said yes.
your father, and after 2 months,
Yeah,
uh-huh. And
my
your,
father
and,
is also a pastor at that.
yeah. So now
So
he
there
needs to
was,
go find himself.
yeah. So
So
there was
before,
going
no,
to
hold
be.
on, hold on, hold on. Y'all always get to the other part. I went to the other part. Before this man, was this the first man you've ever had a serious relationship with?
No, not that. No, no. That's just the first man that I've ever married. But as far as serious
Okay,
relationship, no.
okay, all right. How long was your longest relationship before your husband?
3 years.
How come y'all didn't get married?
He was dealing with his ex-wife, and he felt like it was too much for him to.
Why were you dealing with a man that was involved with his?
That I didn't discover until 2 years later.
You didn't discover he was dealing with. You didn't discover he was formerly married.
No, I mean I knew he was formally married, but when I say dealing with, it was literally 2 years later that his ex-wife started taking him to court for child support.
But y'all were together for
So
3 years. Y'all should see. Everything I hear is it's outside of you. 3 years, and I found out 2 years into a 3-year relationship, his ex-wife. No, and this is one of the major problems with modern women: lack of accountability. I'm not. I got chosen. Yeah, you got a chance to pick. How are you asking these questions? I'm asked every time I ask a question, it's somewhere else. My daddy didn't cover me. I didn't have this. I was with that. Man, you pick. You picked your last 3-year relationship. And why are you in some place 3 years? And somebody's as soon as you start seeing baby mama or ex-wife stuff, why didn't you leave? Because I was in love.
oh no, I definitely left.
Okay, so I'm gonna say no. After 3 years, at 31, man, this is a lot of trauma. It's a lot of trauma. And my ultimate point is right, wrong, or indifferent. Women are not meant to date multiple men and go through this amount of relational trauma.
I agree.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but if y'all are going to live this modern world where you're in charge of your mate selection, then y'all gonna have to figure out how to fix it, because here's the problem. You're 31 years old right now, and right, wrong, or indifferent, however you got here, you have that level of trauma on you. What happens when you run into the next man? Because he shouldn't have to pay for any of this stuff. And unless you fully address this and it's all dead, buried, and moved on, so this is part of this whole modern dating thing. So I say dating is dumb. It doesn't work, especially when women are in charge of picking men. You pick poorly. If you don't have good, solid relationships with fathers, you don't trust the father who's picking for you, because has your father presented men to you to date?
Hmm.
Has he?
Yeah,
And
Jonathan
did
Reynolds.
and did you turn him? And how long did you guys date?
Well, Jonathan Reynolds, I've never like he introduced me through
Uh
his
huh.
music
Uh
and
huh.
said, "This is who I want you to marry." But
Okay.
I don't
Okay. You didn't meet him.
know. Jonathan Reynolds is a famous singer.
Okay. I don't. I'm just asking. I asked you. Did your father? I asked the question. Has your father introduced men for you to date?
No,
So your father isn't. So even when you were younger, your father wasn't looking to help you find a husband.
no.
Did you ask?
I did. I did, and he
What was
told
the
me that I
answer?
don't. He said, "You just need to date me," and of course, that got old after a while. But
Okay.
he never actually. No,
All right. All right. So, you have any siblings?
I do.
Sisters?
Three sisters older than me, and then I
Are
have my
they are
brother.
they all married?
My oldest sister is.
And the other two aren't?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. Where fathers are pastors and they keep their daughters as sister wives. Yeah, I've had several sessions with women like this. Now it's starting to make sense. Now it's starting to make sense. Do y'all all still, do you just unmarried sisters? Do y'all all live in the same city?
No, my older sisters, they live in another state.
Your unmarried sisters.
Yeah, they live in another state.
Okay. And they're all older than you.
Hmm.
And none are married.
No.
And if I ask them about, and if you ask, did dad help you guys with this? Finding a man, they'd say what?
I don't know what they would say, only because they weren't really, they were outside of, so it wasn't, I don't know their relationship. I didn't
You
really,
mean they were
we
out,
weren't
they were,
raised in
okay,
a house
okay,
together.
hold on. Were they your mother's children?
My father's.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any sisters that were from your mother and father?
No, actually, I'm the first from my mother and father.
All right. That's why I say the modern church is failing relationships. I've seen this very often. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot of positive stuff. Therapy, man. Therapy, I would say, like it or not, your father, um, he's a pastor, and he has not been shepherding you or teaching you or helping you. All right. Now I get it. After asking that question, marry me. And when I tell you guys, I've seen this a lot over the last year,
Hmm.
especially here in the South. Um, you're going to have to end up stepping away. I would say get some counseling and therapy, because there's a lot of trauma you've dealt with here. Uh, the prognosis isn't good, though, because you don't have anybody to thoroughly help you kind of step through this. But understanding what it is you want out of a life and a kind of lifestyle you want
Hmm.
may put you in a better mindset of learning how to be able to be to attract the kind of man you want. But this is chaos. So I'm gonna leave it right here.
She's 32 years old, recently divorced, but here's the kicker. They're only married for 6 months. Why? Because he wanted to learn himself more. But hold up, they were together for 2 months before they rushed into marriage. I mean, what did you expect? This is what happens when people jump into lifelong commitments with dating energy. You can't build a real marriage on a 2 month situationship foundation, no matter how much vibes were there. She says she's back on the market, but not in that way. Come on, what does that even mean? You're either open to dating with intention or you're not. All this lukewarm language is why people stay stuck. And she says her parents were married for 30 years. Cool, but that's them. That doesn't automatically give you the skill, discernment, or patience to build a long-term relationship yourself. The truth is, so many modern women romanticize marriage, but don't understand it's a serious, grown decision. It's not just about the wedding, the dress, the finally having someone. It's about values, timing, purpose, purpose and compatibility. Rushing in because it feels right today and calling it off tomorrow because you need to find yourself is why so many end up wasting years and getting hurt in the process. Sis, if you're really back on the market, take your time, learn who you are and what you actually want. Don't rush it, don't settle, and don't waste your time or his if you aren't clear.